There's definitely something to be said about this state of a creative's workspace and how it affects the work that they do. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that this is my new office space. I actually moved a few months ago out of my parents' place into my own place. And previously, my studio slash office slash workspace slash everything was my bedroom. And now I finally have my own dedicated space for all this stuff. This is really great for a few reasons. One, because it helps separate the work-life balance. When you work for yourself and you work from home, it's sometimes difficult to mentally separate the difference between being in your relaxing space and being in your working space. And it means when you're working, it's really easy to be tempted to just do the things that you want to do to relax. And when you're relaxing, you're just thinking about work. I haven't done as much with the space as I wanted to, but we're gonna change that a little bit today. First, let me give you a little tour. Starting with the door, we have my wooden Delaney Media logo. And here it is. So far I have this bookshelf that I'm using as kind of half display up top here, half gear shelf down here. We've got my desk. This video light just kind of lives here, so I'm ready to record at any time. On this wall over here, I've got a couple floating shelves up. There's my camera bag. It pretty much just lives packed all the time. Guitar 1, guitar 2, and this is my gear closet. So I've got a shelf in here and I store some of the bulkier items in there and just like cables and just all the miscellaneous stuff. But this wall behind me is still blank, and that's what I want to fix today. Because I think one of the best things you can do as a photographer is print your photos. With how much we live for the digital world now when we photograph for social media, a lot of people shoot for years and never actually see a physical copy of one of their photos. Because if you're just shooting and delivering to clients and they're posting on Instagram, it's easy for it to just not come up. But I would highly recommend, no matter what kind of photography you're into, that you print a few of your favorite photos and hang them up, even if it's just for yourself. This arrived today. These are 3 of my favorite landscape photos that I've printed and edited specifically for these frames on this wall. The goal here, one, is to just show off some of my favorite photos, but also when I walk into this office, it will feel more like my space. And I've always wanted to just cover one wall in massive prints. Okay, I'm switching to a wireless mic for this because I'm gonna be kind of far away. Hollyland sent me these little mics, the M1s or something. They sent them to me and I never made a video about them, so here you go, Hollyland. If you think these sound good, then check them out. The first thing you want to do when you order prints from a company is just look them over and make sure that they're not damaged. If they didn't package them properly, they could be creased or they could have fingerprints or dents in them. When you pick up your prints, try and only pick it up from the edges. Some people even say you should wear gloves, but photos look different when you print them compared to when you're looking at them on a computer. And this is because the computer has a different way of interpreting and displaying the colors compared to printer ink. The other difference is that a computer image is backlit by the light coming out of the screen, whereas there's no lights on a print. So one thing I would recommend, if you're gonna order big prints like this, is to do a proof printing first. So order the print in a much cheaper size, like an 8x10, you know, like this big. Make sure all the colors look good and then place your order for the really big expensive one. Another little trick in editing, when you're editing your photos for printing, bring up the exposure like 0.1 or 0.2 stops higher than what would normally look properly exposed on your computer screen. And that way when you print them off, they're gonna look a little bit darker because they're not backlit, so they're actually gonna look properly exposed. Now people will tell you you need to spend hundreds of dollars on a framer to put your prints into a nice frame. This is sometimes true if it's a really big print. This print is small enough that I can do this myself, and it's still gonna look good. The problem with mounting yourself, if you're doing it by yourself and it's like a very large print, like 32 by 24 inches, the issue that you're gonna run into with a print that big is if you don't mount the print to another stiff surface behind it, then it's gonna warp in the frame. So if you take it to a professional framer, what they'll do is they'll take some kind of material, whether it's like Bristol board or plexi or something, and they'll glue the print to that surface first and then put it in the frame. I'm not doing that today. I'm just gonna put these prints right into the frame. I'm gonna do it kind of a hacky method of doing this, but it's worked for me before and I think it'll work again. If you go the traditional route for printing and framing your photos, each one of these framed photos would probably run you $200 to $300, at least Canadian, because you're probably gonna spend at least 100 on the frame, maybe 50 bucks to get it printed off, depending on where you go. And then you're gonna have to pay a framer probably at least another $100. Now this is a pretty cheap frame. I got this at Michael's. You could also get a similar quality one at probably like Walmart. The easiest way I found to do this is just to take a pocket knife and you just slide it underneath and pull up. Okay, we lift the backing off. So in total, this frame was about $70 for each of them. Then the prints I got done at a lab called Picto here in Toronto, and they were about $30 each, which is actually a pretty good price for a professional print. Okay, so we've got the back of the frame here, and now I'm gonna show you what I meant by this is kind of a hacky way of mounting your prints. But if you don't wanna spend the lots of money on a professional framer, this works for me. There's probably a better way of doing this, but just trust me, okay? I'm gonna take our first print here. I'm gonna take some gaff tape You could also probably get away with masking tape or painter's tape. Painter's tape might fall off. Gaff tape's good because it's going to hold, it's not going to fall off, but it will also allow you to take it off the print with minimal to no damage. So don't use like duct tape or something, because if you tape duct tape onto your print, you're never getting it off. And I'm just going to press it down. I'm going to do each corner first. Do one corner to anchor, and then you're going to kind of like flatten out the print and make sure that you're taping it tightly and there's not going to be any bulges or wrinkles in the print. Again, anyone who knows anything about framing photos is probably cringing a little bit at this right now, but just trust me, okay? This is how I framed my thesis project in photography school, and I still got my degree. Okay, the print is on there. I'm gonna put one more additional piece on each corner here just to hold it flat, because there is still a little bit of curl in the print from it being rolled up. Okay, and that's what this looks like now. Again, really rough from the back, but from the front, you're not gonna be able to tell. There is something really special about seeing your prints, especially for the first time, seeing your photos printed off. And depending on where you go, it can be a little expensive. Now you can go to like Staples or Walmart or one of these places that does like the one-day turnaround, print off the photos. Those are okay, especially for smaller prints. If you're doing like 4x6 prints for a photo album, there's nothing wrong with that. Especially for bigger prints like this, it's definitely worth it to go to a professional color managed printing lab where they're gonna be printing the photos with really high quality ink and really good paper. And there you have it. There's my mounted print. I'm gonna do this 3 more times and then we're gonna hang them up on the wall. Now in theory, I was just doing this and I figured someone's gonna comment this. In theory, you can mount this to the frame and line up the mat with the frame and have it be stuck to this backing instead of being stuck to the mat. That would also work and might make it a little easier to change out your prints. But I think trying to get it mounted on the backing in a way that would perfectly line up with the mat is gonna be more annoying than I'm willing to deal with. Okay, all the prints are in the frames and they look great. The last thing I need to do is mount them on the wall. Now with this size of frame, I probably don't need to put it into the stud. It would probably hang fine on a drywall anchor, but they're a little on the heavy side and I already marked the studs and I can actually line it up so that it's centered and evenly spaced apart while still being put into the studs. So I'm gonna do that now. Now the last question, what sequence do I put these photos in? I'm gonna hang them up how I think, but I want you to let me know in the comments down below what you think is the best way to hang these up, because I'm not entirely sure. I still have to straighten them out a little bit, but that looks so cool. This is why you should print your photos, because like, look how awesome that looks. And for relatively cheap. And that's why you should print your photos, because it is so awesome to be able to see them in physical form, massive, hanging up on your wall like this. Even if you don't get big ones, even if they're, you know, like 8x10s, that's still seeing your photos in a physical copy. There's just something about it that's really nice and I would highly recommend. But that's all I have for you today. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. I just did a editing tutorial where I showed you how I edit my wedding photos and that was really fun. So check that out. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one.